expert or
No,
anything.
that's fine. No one's expecting you to be an expert. That's absolutely fantastic. All right. 1 second here. Am I on the right one? Yeah, I think so. Let me just tweet out the stream because I have too many damn panels
If
open
it
already.
gets to be too much, I'll leave.
No, it's fine. You know what? Screw it. I'll go practice my politics and see if I can handle this delicate matter as gently, as humanly as possible.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I was like concerned. You were like when you talked, like when you're like, "Oh, this
Well,
is gonna be
I was
about."
like, oh, let's see if we could do. Oh, you know what? Fuck it. I'll do it anyways. Put this in there. Gang. Bunk. There we are. You know what? I should probably kill out of the Discord call before somebody joins over there, since I was trying
Yeah,
to get
that would be a
literally-
good idea.
Yeah. Where the hell is it?
It's right. You're right on it.
Yeah, no, I got it. I got
Just
it.
click. Yeah,
No,
you can
I got
just
it.
click
I know how to
the.
get out of the call. Yeah, we're good. All right. I'm not that dumb. All right. So I'm going to play off a clip here, since most of the other people in the call are a bit lost on what's going on here. There's a gentleman, for everyone watching the stream, by the name of Sargon of Akkad, aka Carl Benjamin. He is running as the representative of UKIP for, I believe it's representative for the EU. Is that right to the best of my knowledge? Do you have any information on this, Midnight? You guys,
something like that.
yeah. To my understanding, that each of the nations in the United Nations get 2 delegates, representatives, whatever the fuck you want to call them, to be in the United Nations, correct? Regardless of Brexit or whatever, you guys still have those representatives, right?
I think so, yes.
All right. And Carl has ingratiated or endeared himself to some of the fine people in the media as only he can. And I would like to talk about it because it's juicy and, yes, it's good drama.
But Jess Phillips put this out.
Now,
able
the
to
person's
joke about
name in
my
question is called Jess Phillips. Let's see if I could pull her up. Hopefully I haven't gotten blocked yet. If I can find her. There she is. If I could have pulled up her freaking... bunk.
I think it was spelled with an E after Jess.
Oh, go to notifications. Where is she? But is this one it? Ah, got
No,
it.
scroll up. It's got to be there. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, we're horribly organized today. Let's say hi to the chat while we're here. Oh, hello,
Hi guys.
Steph. Fantastic. So I ran out to the dome again. Yeah, I went looking around trying to find more people, but this is what we got today. You get that ooh stuff out of here. Especially when we're talking politics.
Hi, Jazz.
This is very serious talk. You don't be bringing that ooh in here.
That's Jazz, by the way. Hi,
Yeah.
Jazz.
That's fine. That's fine. But let's see, where is she? There she is, Jess Phillips. Fantastic, we're not blocked. So
Why would you be locked?
I don't know, I've been talking a little smack. But anyways, Jess Phillips, Labour MP for the Birmingham Yardley. Birmingham, I think that's where British Ninja's actually out of. Sordid, unseemly, and grotesque, according to a little man on the internet. So, I do believe she's talking about our dear beloved Carl.
I like how she's salty. I like her attitude.
Well,
She's funny.
Here's the problem, and I'll play the clip if I can't sum this up properly. She's like, she tried to talk about it like she's like, I fear for my life, but then I don't. And
I mean, if I could see the clip and get the
all right,
context
okay,
of how that.
you've definitely pushed me to it, so we'll get to the clip here. Play a little bit more.
rape, shouting, "I pay your wages." Now, this, according to Jess Phillips, of course, I don't know if that really happened. There's no way to say whether it did or not.
Jess Phillips does strike me as a person prone to hyperbole.
Yeah. Okay, let's play it. This is the Metro video. I think it's a clip from the BBC.
Respond on text message, and I looked up and I said, yeah, I'm absolutely fine. And I realised that I did what all women do in these situations, is that I'd been putting a brave face on it and pretending that it was all fine and that I could cope. And it sort of dawned on me that for 4 years, essentially, this man has made a career out of harassing me, and I felt harassed. I felt like, how can somebody say that they would rape me if forced and be a legitimate candidate in an election? It was one thing when he was just some idiot off the internet with a load of bros following him.
Oh,
It's a different
bros.
thing when he's standing on the same platforms that I'm standing on, that he will potentially go to a parliament himself as an elected representative when he said these things, and I just cannot believe our system.
Now, there's a couple of different things I take umbrage with. One of the ones where she's like, I have to take partial responsibility because I ran on a platform where I told women that I would protect them from this, and here we are. And I was like, you've given everyone every opportunity not to vote for you.
Well, what has she done?
She literally said, I take, partial responsibility because I've promised that I would help, pass legislation to prevent things like this.
And I don't see how that's an issue.
Okay, so, alright, Buttons. If you're a politician, and one of the reasons that you go to get elected is, and then you remind people, oh, by the way, I didn't do this thing. How is that not an issue?
Oh, she didn't do it. Okay,
Yeah.
now I see. Okay, now I see.
Like, I was so confused that whether or not I
Okay.
agree with basically how they're going to handle things in England. I'm not from England. I don't understand the laws.
Right.
Thankfully, Midnight Chimes is there if we decide to stop and talk along any of
Well,
those things. Yeah, but
I do know what she meant by having a mask and doing what most women do. I do understand what she was
I
saying by that.
understand that
Yeah.
too. But in at least, and I can't speak for what English
Well,
people have to take in these situations, but in
I don't
America-
think it depends upon English. I will say, I'll give an example
Well,
of a
before
grocery store
the
incident
podcast,
that,
you said it wasn't about legality, and I'm like, yeah, for elections, it absolutely is.
well, for legality, like, I would say as an election, I was saying more or less like, I mean, on a daily basis, women have to go to a store and face the humiliation of being dehumanized, basically, of men just looking at them and making calls or like touching them sometimes even, and they are too afraid to move or do anything because they know.
All right, I'm a bit confused with.
Mhm.
You're talking about being looked at as a form of harassment. Now, I'm not going to say that it's impossible for someone to follow you around and stare you down to a level that would be grotesque.
That's I have experienced this otherwise.
Why are you taking on the tone of a supervillain as you say this?
No, I'm not. I'm just very sick right now.
You literally went. I'm like, why did you literally go mustache twirler right now? I'm like, yeah, you kind of came off like the Labour MP, where I'm like sitting there going, all right, you have a fair amount of sympathy. The proper way, at least in American politics, would be sit there and act like, okay, this is certainly a hiccup in the road. This is certainly a serious matter. However, but the problem is, people in America, can't speak for England, tend to like to vote for politicians who can handle that hiccup. You definitely have to sit there and say this is inappropriate. This isn't the sort of thing that really belongs in an election. However, you can't. People don't want to, vote for someone who's going to be shoot off stage like Bernie Sanders. you need people who could, if they run into an incident, whether it be political or people on the road, that they'll be able to stand their ground, and no one wants to hire a wimp. Now,
I don't think a woman would be a wimp to be afraid of sexual harassment or to be discouraged by it. I think that is a very natural human reaction for them.
Here's my gist about this, though. If basically, let's say, I don't know, Hillary would have got elected, let's say that she would have had to go over and debate with Kim Jong-un, are you really telling me that she's one sexist joke away from falling apart? Because if that's the case, I
wouldn't say falling apart. I would say she would have a right to be upset for a while and then get back up. I wouldn't say she has the right to stay down.
No,
I think
you're missing the point of they have a right versus. I'm concerned with someone in this position. This is a political position is a cog in a machine. It's a very important part. We could talk about how much. Yeah.
This is what we're talking about here. It's wherever some people, and then we're talking sort of in the vast majority here. Like you're going to have one opinion, but as the mass majority of people are going to support someone, get behind someone like that. Like that's someone we can rely on as a politician.
Yeah.
Because
Alright.
I as the British person, I do remember one of the things with Jeremy Corbyn was there was a big deal about is he strong enough? Oh, is this old man? He's not strong enough. He can't stand his ground. Sort of these sort of things. So I mean, there is an element of that,
Let me
rightly or wrongly.
Let me give you a wonderful example, Buttons. Now, I'm not a fan of Ronald Reagan, who's passed away long since a while ago. But when he got shot, he was in the hospital truck telling jokes. He was making remarks. I sure hope everybody in here is a Republican or something like that. He took it in stride, and here's the whole thing. If he sat there, if he was screaming for his life, "Oh God, I am in horrible pain, please give me meds," I would understand after being shot, even though I've not been shot. It would be probably a horrifying experience. But it would not be the best optic in the world to be doing that. Do you see what I'm saying? I understand her discomfort. I get that. But you're kind of expected to put the best face on things as a politician. Do you understand what I'm saying there?
I guess.
Well, what? Okay.
And that could be wrong, but it's all about what the public think. Where it's democracy. It's about your political campaign. It's about, is it good spin or not? It's all those kinds of things.
Well, let's look at it this way. You said it could be wrong. What's the alternative? Say all the rights pull the morally correct things and not get elected.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
Yes.
We have to. We actually have to do practical application. We have to be pragmatic about these stances. And I don't know the full theme of Jess Phillips, but all I know is that generally speaking, it's kind of comes off as a double speak where they're like, "Oh, I'm not really bothered, but I am." Here, I'll continue on.
It's so weak at the moment that that's allowed to happen.
I
And
didn't
when you
hear
got
her
home, I
say
think, you
she's
did
not
cry, didn't you?
bothered.
Yeah?
But we'll get to that. That's why I said it was.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily say that she's not bothered. She tried to make it sound like I'm not really rattled. She said something along of, "Oh, more my mental health." And if some fat dumpy bro, as you would put it, some third party that has no real threat to actually getting elected is rattling you like this, what are you going to do on the main stage if you have to deal with some horrible despot or dictator? Sargon of Akkad is not the most dangerous thing in the world.
Well, was he telling her straight up, like texting her he would rape her and shit, or was
No,
he
he didn't speak to her directly, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay.
All right.
Then I can understand the concern. I was gonna say if he was like directly texting her and messaging her, I would understand her
for
concern.
any woman listening, if you feel that Jess Phillips shouldn't have to take that shit, that's fine. But here's the whole thing: as a politician, I'm just sitting there saying I'm concerned. You get that spot, and then you're going to sit there and try and talk as a victim. You need to be stronger in that role. These positions of authority need to come off with, I need to have confidence in these people in positions. And if I'm wrong on that, naturally, you guys can comment on the side there or down below when this is up later. Oh, what's this step? Reagan is like Teddy Roosevelt. They both were shot and took it on stride. God bless Republicans. I'm not going to put Reagan in there with Teddy. Teddy was a man's man who did sports and things, and Ronald Reagan was an actor. Anyways. You know what? I'm surprised I've never heard that crackpot theory that someone suggested that the shot was staged. I'm not going to start that here. As I've never heard that suggestion to the otherwise. Continuing on.
I mean, I cried actually in the street in Birmingham.
She had a good cry, Flamingo. Now we'll play a little bit more of this here in a second. Do you buy that Jess Phillips has been through some serious trauma and that she was accosted probably by a rabid Kekistani member?
Now, I don't know how serious the crap that Jess Phillips took in person by, as they would call it, rabid Kekistani members, or, Pepe members, or whatever you want to call them, or trolls off the internet fucking with her. But again, what if you were dealing with, I don't know, people who dealt in fear, like, say, Antifa? Not that, Jess Phillips would do that, being a Labor MP. I'd want to know that they'd be able to push back, that they wouldn't just wilt against, threats and shit.
Outside Parliament today, if that did occur.
I mean, quite frankly, if I were her, I would be close to hysterics if I heard
It was one thing when he was just some...
Oh, no, you're gonna go back to that.
Okay, fine. 4-9.
Well,
I mean, we've already had one person die to this cult of personality, so I mean, it's bound to happen.
No, I don't know what they're talking about there, which is why I was going to bump ahead, but go ahead.
I still think that it deserved to be heard.
No,
Okay, but you don't have context for that. I don't know if it's a joke or not.
She's making fucking more hay out of this than Sargon.
Did you notice what she said, though? It was one thing when he was just some dude on the internet, basically, is what she said. That's pretty much what we've said and what Jim said. It's one thing when you're just, on YouTube, on Twitter.
Now, if England were to nip things in the butt, as opposed to how America's handled things, make things less showman, a little less WWF, as our current commander-in-chief in America clearly did during the last election, I would understand a little less razzle-dazzle. I'd get that. I don't know. But I'm not quite sure what sort of measures that they would have to do to police and prevent that.
Throwing your comments out there. When you're running for office, now they're coming to destroy. They're gonna. Well, I don't know if they're going to.
Now, Midnight, you're still there, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about they threw Carl off of Twitter? Do you feel that people running for office are should be guaranteed a platform to speak public?
Well, Twitter's an interesting one because there's this argument kind of going out that, like everyone uses the argument that, Twitter's a private company, Facebook is a private.
Well, there's a counter argument.
As far as
Jack Chiante, I think or is that the one who's in charge of Patreon? I think it's Jack something or other who's in charge of Twitter. Went before, I think, as well as Mark Zuckerberg, they went before some hearing in the United States and sat there and made the remark, "Oh, we're a platform, we're to give everyone the opportunity to speak their minds." But then things like this happen, and all of a sudden we're a private company.
Well, yes, I mean the thing about that I was going to say is the big argument coming out against that now is that with Twitter being what it is, as essential to our discourse as human beings and so on, that it's as far as freedom of speech goes, it's almost like you could argue, I think fairly, that it's a human right to be able to express yourself on Twitter to a degree.
Well, yeah, I get that too, and if they, I don't know, if there were a clearer strike system, if they were, as opposed to straight up banning as Twitter's become.
Yeah.
Feel free, everyone everywhere, to make fun of me, to say that Twitter is essential. God, that's horrifying. It's literally supposed to be a throwaway platform of random musings, but as you go up a little bit higher in the structure, as maybe as a politician, those random musings and quick thoughts and sound bites do become a bit more essential.
Well, I mean, there was that one time we accidentally stumbled onto that person getting beheaded. That was
Well, that was, believe that was Laura Loomer's Twitter, which she doesn't have anymore.
Who's Laura Loomer?
Laura Loomer is, she's a cough journalist. The cough was legit the first time. I just felt like putting the satire there at the end. She's controversial. I feel that that's very comfortable saying that, especially after seeing that beheading video that was up. I did not keep it. I've been told that would have been legal, but I didn't feel comfortable having beheading videos on my video or YouTube. Or, not my YouTube, my
Twitter timeline.
Computer. I didn't feel like opening up OBS and going, here, let me snap this off real quick.
That was like really weird. Like, we were just.
Here's the problem with that. If you have a beheading video on your computer, even if it were legal, then I'd have to sit there and say, well, the only reason to have that is to show it to other people, and then I'd have to wonder, well, would I get in trouble for distributing something like that? And
Yeah.
I'm like, this is the height of a slippery slope that I just don't need to have.
Why would you even want it? I mean, it's just revolting.
Okay,
and...
no, I could explain that. I saw a beheading video on Twitter, and I want to prove that I'm not making this up.
Oh, okay, yeah, true.
That was real easy, and I was like, I saw it there. You saw it with me, Buttons, and
I definitely saw. Like we were just looking at cats, and then all of a sudden we're like, "Is this real?" I don't know. No, this is real, man.
I thought it was
That's a big
nonsense
jump.
at first. He was using a sawing motion with a machete. I was like, well, that's unbelievably fucked up. But let's get back to it.
But these headlines, police
Headlines.
probing, and it's not the comments that he made. There's a few choice comments about race and some, slurs depending on your definition in there. And that one video that I think he got a strike for that video. But that was a few years old. It's not that video. It's the one that we watched, not this past Saturday, but the one before that with Dame Pesos, where we were watching on air. And then he said, I might be forced to reconsider my decision not to rape Jess Phillips. And we were watching that, and it's like, what is it?
So that was, for anyone who didn't hear that, Sargon's response, or his great apology, was, I may have to be forced to reconsider my stance on raping Jess Phillips. And I understood it that he was being satirical. Was that a smart, bright move to do
did he
for
have
a
a
politician?
satirical tone of voice?
It's kind of hard to tell with Carl.
See, I would have to hear it, because there are sometimes you really need to hear it in the voice. You can't just take it as they're fucking around, because there could be a very dangerous individual if you get the wrong judgment.
I get that too.
Plus,
he
he's a
said
politician,
it into a
so-
camera. I can't imagine that he was being deadpan serious.
I still don't think it's appropriate to say, even in a joking way, you would rape someone. I honestly don't.
And the answer to that is, if you don't feel that it was appropriate, provided you're English, because we can't vote over there, people would choose to express their discomfort with their vote. That's just how I would view it.
If I was in England, I would give definitely not vote for him.
To the best of my knowledge, it's been on The Guardian, and I think some other... Is The Guardian a mainstream media outlet there, Midnight?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty big.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, there we have some confirmation. Take Midnight Chimes as word to don't. Oh, hello. How are you today, Node? It's been a good while. It's been a hot minute. How you doing?
Yeah, it's been a while. Sorry, I've had a lot of things on, and okay. It's you guys tend to stream when it's 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning for me.
How late is it over there right now in Australia on the other side of the world?
It's almost 3 a.m.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, it's like 10:50 over here, or 9:50 or something like that. Or...
No, dude, it's like 11:50 for you.
Oh, okay.
So I do apologize for missing a lot of the stuff. It's not I'm not doing it on purpose.
No, you're fine. It's not Doc Al. You're not required to be here. Get back to it.
What's this guy doing? He's making every wrong move there is. Well, it was clearly, yes, I understand that, but
dumb enough to think that people on Cuck Island are gonna be able to parse that out from whatever the fucking headlines and all these tabloids, or even fucking The Guardian and the BBC.
Well, yeah, sure, it was a joke, and I mean I agree with that, but wow, you're skirting that. I guess maybe that's what.
Why would what?
Why would someone think raping someone is a joke?
All right. This is... I was a bit reluctant to have you on, Buttons. It's shock value. Some dark humor. Generally, the whole idea that sometimes when people tell... I don't mean to diminish something by calling it edgy. It's just me being lazy, I suppose.
Horrific. That's a good word to use. Horrific.
People make 9/11 jokes, and I've left my ass off. Did you ever see the
gallows,
video?
It's along the same
humor.
kind of lines.
Yeah. Have you ever seen We're Not Aiming for the Truck?
No.
Okay.
I mean, well, yes, I have, and I mean...
I laughed my ass off, I'm not gonna lie. I've laughed my utter ass off at that shit.
May I say something, if that's okay?
Certainly.
Rape is a little different than a mass destructive murder. Rape is something very personal, dehumanizing. May I finish speaking before you speak?
Go ahead. Sure.
I would like to say, rape is something that happens to a person, and it is very dehumanizing. they take away your freedom, they take away your consent, they take away your say, they will physically hurt you, they threaten you, and when that happens after, society treats you as though it is your fault, and society has this mentality. That is why rape is so damaging. It is mentally damaging and physically damaging.
Well,
some people even lose the ability to have children because of it.
You said that society does this.
Yes, I speak from experience.
I think you're putting too much stock in a handful of trolls online versus society.
I've also heard of other people who've had it happen.
I understand that, but
it's not trolls online. I'm
saying from your experience, Buttons, that you've. I'm not saying that it's not difficult, the level of nonsense that you've had to go through with some people, but
it's not just online.
Okay, but how do people know offline? Who's telling them, Buttons?
My family knew when it happened because it was a family member, and they shamed me for it.
But
I was 7 years old.
That's not society. That's your family.
Mm.
But
it is a big problem. It's sad and it's a terrible thing. Probably to say society is a bit broad. It's a bit of a generalization, but it is a. All
right, I will give another example then. Something happened in Louisiana, and when I went to the police about this, they said, "Oh, well, there's no evidence and there's no DNA, so we're not going to do anything about it."
Yeah, that's
even though it happened.
Well, Buttons,
what can they do? What should they do?
Hold it. Yeah, Buttons. In that case, we just got done fucking ragging on Draikinator. If you didn't have, the proof necessary to pursue with that, what would you have them do?
I believe offline is a little different than online.
Okay. What would you have the police do in that situation, though? Like
warrant for an arrest, and they also had some stuff on his record that was concerning. They told me, so they said they would do a warrant for his arrest. They would put him in the jail, and we would go to. They said they were to pursue this, which they said like they were going to, and then they didn't. They would have brought him to court, and they would have done an investigation on patterns of behavior of his past.
What was the reasoning that they gave for not pursuing it?
Because there were no witnesses.
Were they aware of that to begin with?
Yes.
Okay, but
they changed their mind halfway through. I also want to point out that Louisiana, and I've known this, I've looked this stuff up. Louisiana also has a thing where if someone bails you out of their jail and they're a pimp, they can still take you and you can become a sex slave. That is a part of Louisiana law. I shit you not. That is a societal thing.
Hold up here. Are you protecting? Are you?
I don't mean
stating,
to.
No.
Sorry.
I need to take that one. Are you stating that Louisiana has on the books a pimping law?
It is not a pimping law. It is if anyone bails you out, they are allowed to do so. It does not matter who they are.
Okay. Could you pull that up?
Yeah.
Okay, because I might believe that anyone might be willing to bail you out there, but you made it sound like they might be able to. You said, and I quote, make you a sex slave. That's on the books.
Yeah. It's not on the books, but it does happen.
You made it sound as if it were in the law.
No, but it's still a society. Oh, okay. Bail bondsman arrested for human trafficking.
All right.
Louisiana.
That's a news article. I was asking for the legal pursuant to citation, if you could find that.
13th Amendment critique of... Oh, okay. 13th Amendment, men who own women. A 13th Amendment of critique of forced prostitution.
Could we get a link?
Yep.
All right. First, I'll have to ask, is it going to be safe to click on?
Let me read it.
Well, no. The text is fine. I'm saying, is there any...
Yes, it's text.
Okay, that's perfectly fine then.
Let me see and make sure this is what, as we come closer to understand what forced prostitution means, someone involves similarity between forced labor and slavery becomes striking.
What's the problem? I have a friend who's, just reading off from the chat, I have a friend who's been here for me before wanting to bail me out. They should. Most prisons are privately owned, and you should be allowed to spend your money as an option. I didn't know most prisons were privately owned. I assumed that there would be some kind of state or... Well, actually, I have no idea. Those are actually some good points here. What what kind of policing are on prisons? Is that at a state or a federal level?
I'm trying to
Maybe that'll
find
be a
the.
video or another stream to sit there and look into the ins and outs of prisons.
See, I'm trying to find something by the books, and even like it isn't. It can still.
Yeah, I'm wondering. You know, we hear things all the time. They're like, okay, that sounds like it could be true. I think you might have jumped the gun on some of that there. I think that some people probably might have agreed to be bonded out, and it didn't go so well when they went with someone. That's possible, but you know, when you start presenting something about like that's as fact for Louisiana, I'd be a bit more careful. I don't think states could sue you for that, but again, let's try and get misinformation on that. Get back to the video for the time being. Wrong one. Here we go.
My point being was that society does, rape is a little different than. It's not just something edgy. It can be very damaging and lifelong.
Well, hold on.
And it's delicate.
You used your family and the police as examples there.
I do believe that the police consider a big part of society. Would you not agree? Would you not agree that they are a staple of society?
If you're screwing up and you're in drastic... How often do you deal with the police to be calling them a big part of society? That's where I'm a bit confused there. I could understand.
I mean, I dealt
if
with
you
them
said that
just...
they were... Again, maybe I'm being pedantic here. A necessary part, but a big part... how often do you interact with the police?
Aren't necessary and big kind of the same thing? I mean, aren't you kind of being a little...
Okay. If I sat there and said, based off the fact that I receive mail virtually every day, then I could say that they are a bigger part of society. Hypothetically. Not even hypothetically, actually. Technically. I'm basing big on... How often do you interact with this staple of society? How often does one really interact with the police?
I suppose regardless of how you define society, it's all about, we're arguing about wording here. I mean, the point kind of still stands really, because so some people like society could just mean everyone, but it's quite a kind of contested term when you're using society, but the point still stands.
Okay. I'm a bit... Well, that's the whole idea when you sit there and say, well, it's all our fault because of the police.
I wasn't saying that at all. What the hell?
Well, you said it was a major part.
I was saying that society has a point of view, and I'm saying police are part of society.
Do an L from Death Note. Throw a random bullshit percentage at me. What percentage do you feel that police are in society's influence?
In society's influence?
Yeah, like
considering they hold the law and shit, I would say about... Let's give or take 30 to 50%.
50%? Holy shit! Again, that's...
Sorry, I'm still a bit. I'm sorry for interrupting. I'm just confused what you're referring to when you say society. Are you talking individual things? Are you talking about the general zeitgeist of everything, or are you talking about legal officials like the people who are in power or something, or elected officials? I mean, I'm sorry. It's just society. Nowadays, it's just used as a sort of a catch-all term as them, and it's like, well, okay, who exactly are you referring to when you say, quote, society?
Can I take a guess at this? Do you mean community?
Maybe I mean the wrong word, but it still society, community. No, I believe society. Society, I believe the working people. I believe there was a video recently made by someone on YouTube that actually describes this perfectly. There was a girl named Alimations, and she talked about her story when she was groped at Church's Chicken, and her and the female employees told the boss what happened, and they said, "Oh, well, we're not going to do anything because you can't prove it," and they had to, work with each other and themselves to make sure that this didn't happen when it shouldn't be happening in the first place. And they allowed that behavior to happen because it did not do anything, and they didn't bother to even look at the cameras or anything.
Okay, so when you say society, you mean general, general public behavior. When you say that, I'll say, okay, I think I understand what you're saying there. I think on a personal level, I think it's a bit. I think it's a bit. It is might be a bit unfair. Fair to basically
I will
shift
also give
everyone
another.
in society.
No. I will also give another example.
Okay,
Well, no,
you
you're giving.
interrupt-
No, hold it, but you're giving, you're stating, okay, these are things I've read somewhere, but we're not allowed to check them. That's.
I'm
kind
not
of-
saying you're not allowed to look
Well,
or check them.
well,
I'm saying
no,
I'm looking
You're
for
not
them.
providing the links or anything like that, and we're derailed so far off the bat here when we're trying to move along here, and we're stuck
Yeah,
on
sorry.
what society is. No, that's
mean-
not your fault.
Yeah.
You're
I mean,
arguing.
I was only just saying, like, the reason. Okay, the reason being is because if you if you lump everyone into society, you take out individual things, and especially nowadays, a lot of people are afraid to do anything when it comes to anyone else because it's become it is such quite, and I understand, and that's and in your and I'm not putting anything on you because if anything, that fear has caused a lot of this stuff, but it's not. I don't think it's. I think it's a bit unfair to say it's a collective uncaring. I think it's more of a collective fear or anything else like that. Again, I feel like I'm just arguing semantics here, and I apologize if I'm.
Well, yes, this is all about semantics. We're trying to debate what the word society is or isn't in here, and I think it might be simplest to kind of you've specified what you mean. We've pinned down the term. Yes, this behaviour happens. Yes, these things that Buttons has described do go on, and that is the point, really.
Yes, that's what I am trying to say.
I'm also like to point out, I know in instances like these before that sometimes you overstate the level of problem there, or you find or associate personal situations and equivocate with them with other popular
I don't
stories.
think that
You've done that to me. You've absolutely done that to me.
I don't think my experience invalidates the emotion I have behind why I feel something is an injustice. I honestly don't. That's kind of how
emotional driven Buttons. I need you to take a moment here and actually sit there and think as opposed to going, I feel this way.
All right, then defend rape to me. Defend it and make it a joke and say why it should be joked about. I want you to say that.
Why shouldn't it be?
Because it's very damaging. It's dehumanizing. I mean,
so how would you justify ripping? How would you justify ripping up the First Amendment? So because of your feelings, I want to know that.
I mean, no offense, but a lot of things are that are bad for us. We joke about. I mean, suicide, regicide,
have this one,
genocide.
You were damaged when I was talking about going to Windy City Con and Babs. You get louder and louder and get progressively more and more angry about situations. There would be so many laws on the books if we had to sit there and dance around everything that makes you uncomfortable. That's not fair to everyone else. And that's not legally
the same
enforceable.
As rape.
But you do raise that same level. You do show that same level of fucking offense and anger, and you feel that being more impassioned makes you right. I've seen you do it. Why do I feel that people should be allowed to do it? They legally are provided to, and there's not a legal reason not to. Is it a wise idea? Probably not. I could easily concede that.
That's good enough.
I mean, there's a difference between saying is someone legally or should they be legally allowed to do something, and is it okay to do it?
I'm not even asking legality at all.
And again, okay, it's legal.
You did bring up the police, and you did say that you felt that. You did state for the record that you were like, oh, it's society, and I'm very upset that the police didn't do this here. That's you made it sound like you were legally entitled to these sort of things based off of feelings. I'm not saying that things terribly didn't happen to you, but if the police weren't able to prove it, and I can't say that I have the police report in front of me, I don't have all the information on what they did or didn't decide to do, I don't have it hard to believe that the police were, maybe they just decided due to budget or whatever that was completely unreasonable that they didn't follow through with your case. I don't know. I don't have all that information.
I think what bothered me is they promised they would and then they didn't. That is what bothered me about that situation. They made an effort to keep reassuring me that they would follow through and they didn't.
Is it possible that they discovered something along the way that they didn't share with you and they decided not to continue from there?
They told me that there were things in his record, and they were concerned, like, did you know about anything he was involved with before this? Because they said he was a suspect of other cases.
Could also be it could also just be legal quagmire stuff, as in some guy, like DA person, literally may come in and go.
If I could get a moment here, we're way off topic. Buttons, you've made this about.
I apologize.
Yeah, I'd like to get back to the video, as I've been trying, kicking and screaming here.
To try to,
and I'm sorry for my part as well too.
No, it's fine.
We all got a bit off there.
Free speech warrior position, and I've speculated about that too. Maybe that's what the real game is. Clearly, he doesn't care about UKIP. He would have stepped down a week and a half ago, at least a week ago.
Let's get back to this.
Right now.
Of city centre, just because I felt like the enormous weight of years and years and years of abuse, and I felt it's not that I'm frightened for the credible threat to me. Actually, I'm not frightened that anyone's going to hurt me. I can't.
So you don't fear for your physical safety?
I can't live my life fearing for my physical safety, otherwise I would do nothing. And I really like living my life like a normal person. So I don't let that creep in very often. What I do fear for is my mental health.
But what would cause the mental health? It would be the fear, would it not?
No, PTSD. She was saying years of abuse. She was trying to say her post-traumatic stress disorder and things from her past haunting her.
But if you weren't afraid, how would you have the PTSD?
PTSD isn't about fear. It's about reliving what you've been through. It's how your brain
Can you give an example
function.
of PTSD where fear was not a factor?
War veterans. They just relive what they've gone through because of a trigger.
Okay.
I can actually add to that as well.
I feel that Buttons set that
actually,
up.
Node just said he would add to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, one of the things I've gotten involved in the past is people who were the Anzacs, and if you don't know, they're the veterans of Gallipoli and everything else like that. Unfortunately, there isn't really anyone left now. But my family, we dealt with a lot of that sort of stuff. One of the things that deal with PTSD is, like you said, she is right. It isn't fear. It's so much as a trigger. For example, one of the things that can happen is that it's actually in a song where the Channel 7 helicopter is flying overhead, and some of the people who have PTSD, their skin starts to blister and itch because it's sort of a mental response, because they used they use chemical weapons and stuff like that as well too, and during sort of a lot of those conflicts and stuff like that, and the brain, because there was like helicopters in the sky and those things happening, was because it was such a on edge thing all the time. When they heard helicopters, their brain took them back to that moment, and their skin started to itch like unbelievably and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah. No.
That's what it is. So it isn't always fear. A lot of times it is.
And I think most people would be willing to be accommodating to veterans who have definitely served for their country and face down fear. I don't feel your average Joe, no matter how much that you try and wave rape in front of someone, is going to accommodate people because someone said something mean to them on the internet.
I wasn't arguing that. I was just pointing out what that means. It doesn't have to be fear.
Okay.
Much.
All right.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be fear. It can literally just be about reliving what you've been through.
But my point here is they're trying to act like, oh, I'm not really bothered by it, but I have, the I don't even know.
Yes,
did she say
explain
PTSD?
That's what she was alluding to, because as she said, after years of abuse. Okay. No, she didn't, but she was alluding to it. Okay. I mean, anyone could pick up on that.
She was alluding to PTSD. She basically talked about it as if it were causing her some level of mental distress. Is that comfortable?
I believe she was alluding to it, but sure.
Well, is PTSD some level of mental distress? Some level.
It isn't just mental. It could also be affect you physically and shit.
So you got your medical degree from Harvard or Yale?
I'm talking from experience of what I've talked about with my therapist. I mean, I'm not saying like I have a degree in this. I'm saying I have experience with this. And I mean, you could ask a therapist. You could ask someone else with PTSD.
I'm less inclined to believe a politician who's on the stand who might be able to mimic the signs of PTSD because she wants to draw sympathy to get votes. I'm not inclined to believe her. she's trying to act like she's not having sympathy. I'm not inclined to believe her.
All right. Candy ass.
I think you're missing the whole point here, Buttons, that I keep saying this. I don't believe that Sargon of Akkad has any earthly business having a political position because he doesn't have any fucking experience. That was the original standing point I had on friggin' the Donald. You know, this is a man who didn't have any political background. Now that he's been in office, and I could sit there and look at some of those things, I've opened up a little bit to that. Do I think that Carl would grow and learn on that same level? No, he's not a businessman either. He's had some success on YouTube. That's an entirely different animal. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm sorry to play Thingo. If anything we've learned over the last couple of years is that it doesn't. It turns out that a lot of the things in order to be successful in political things and stuff like that, you don't. You don't actually need to have a lot of skill. For example, we have a politician here in Australia called Bob Catter, and this guy, he's been in politics for like 8 years, and this guy is straight up insane. Like this guy, but he always managed to secure like the country votes and everything else like that. And in fact, in the last election or anything else like that, he had gotten so many votes because we use the Westminster voting thing. I won't go into it. It's just, but he he received enough votes that both parties had to vie for him. Okay, to get his preference. Okay, and it means that he literally got a ton of votes, so that he had and he was an independent and stuff like that. And this guy is, like I said, he's insane. Like he's like he's Alex Jones level conspiracy nut and stuff like that.
Is he effective enough where the people are satisfied with his services, so to speak?
More or less, but he's pretty much been saying the same thing for the last 7 years and stuff like that. You know.
Okay. I'm not saying it's impossible that Carl Benjamin, if he got in office, would be able to do these things. I'm just saying, from my perspective, I would be reluctant. I would be, as Sargon would put it, skeptical about someone in his position. I'm not saying that you're inherently wrong. I'm saying this is why I would be reluctant. My problem.
Oh no, and I agree. I'm just pointing out the fact that weirder things have happened, especially in the last couple of years, political wise.
But getting back to your point here, Buttons, I hate to derail myself here. You're more inclined to just, unless you specifically knew the person has been known to be full of shit in the past, you're more inclined to just believe the victim in these cases. Would you agree with that standpoint, Buttons?
If there's evidence of him harassing her, I believe that. I wouldn't believe her years of abuse, but I would also take into consideration if there was evidence of it by behavioral pattern or something. Again, I look into evidence of all of these things.
Okay,
that's why I looked into evidence with the Draikinator.
Here's the other issue with that. He's from England, where they're a bit more they crack down on things. That's why they went after Dankula for teaching his dog to do the Hitler salute.
Still television licenses over there.
I would have figured. I thought that was in Canada.
No, that was in England.
Nope. Actually, it's in Scotland, to be precise.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's part of the UK Empire, so
yeah.
You know.
Well, I'm assuming the Scottish people don't want to hear that, so okay. Jeez. But if she hadn't really taken steps that she didn't care before now, it feels like, well, I'm going to pursue it now because it's going to knock him down. And don't get me wrong, that's good politics.
Well, was he doing this for a long time?
He said this a significant degree before the election. And
okay. See, if this was recently, I would have been more inclined.
Okay,
but
hold it. He did. When I said he did double down, where he made the remark, "Oh, I might have to reconsider." He's clearly attempting to be funny, where he's like, "Oh, I might have to reconsider." Carl Benjamin.
I wouldn't consider that funny.
Okay,
that's fine.
Would you understand that this is someone attempting to make a joke?
Not really.
Would you purposely bend over backwards and ignore that an attempt was a joke to be made because of your feelings?
No, I'm not saying that. I literally just I don't think it's a joke, so I don't think it was an attempt to be a joke. I think it was just an attempt to just be stupid.
If I could show you the definition and the texture, and I can't do these things, but I'm just saying the elements that were inclined to be a joke, if there were a formula to make a joke, would you ignore those in an effort to just because you didn't feel comfortable?
I wouldn't consider it a joke, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. I've gotten everything I needed to do. Let's get back to it.
Actually, and this
Yes,
is
we all feel
essentially
fear
like
for your
coercive
mental health,
control.
Jess.
Sometimes I'd rather
I think I speak for the
someone were to
entire
punch
audience.
me in the face than the constant degradation that you suffer as a woman in the public eye. It is constant. It constantly belittles you. It makes you.
I would not vote for a presidential candidate if he were Mexican and said, "Oh, the constant degradation as a Mexican." I'd be like, "Oh, no, I'm not going to listen to that for 4 years." Just my standpoint.
You blame yourself, and initially
You blame yourself?
I blame myself for some of this. Yeah.
Why? For this? For what Carl Benjamin said in that video?
Yeah, I blame myself for accepting it for so long and for not doing more to try and stop it. Actually, I blame myself for not having for the past 4 years to have changed directly the Electoral Commission rules that mean that.
Or do you mean by that you were sitting around waiting for an opportunity to try and get more power as a member of the United Nations? Yeah, I'm a little too political there. But, yeah.
Take politics out of it a little bit, yeah.
Well, I mean, it is completely. I mean, we're talking about it
everything
because
is
it's political.
don't
She
get
even
away
said,
from
yeah, she even said if this were just some
better.
asshole on YouTube, it wouldn't be an issue. But it does feel like it's a very political thing. She's like, I could have done something about this 4 years ago, and now you have this golden opportunity here to basically influence and change on what people can and can't say. Buttons, I want you to be honest. How much of a shears would you take to the First Amendment if you felt that you could be comfortable?
What do you mean?
People are currently allowed to make rape jokes. Would you make an amendment to remove that if you could be more comfortable?
It isn't about comfort.
Okay. Would you make an effort to remove that?
Yes.
Okay. Fantastic.
That would be the only thing I would remove, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. But here's the thing: if that becomes case, I have a personal thing. Okay, when it comes to certain other jokes and stuff like that, I personally hate passive aggressiveness, for example, and I want that. And if you can have that, I want that to be removed as well.
Yeah. If you got one, everybody would want one too.
And the problem, it's, and I hate to say this, it is one of those slippery slope fallacies where eventually it starts getting to the point with, I don't want these people into whatever definition and stuff like that to have this right. Then you start coming then you start going to second class citizens regardless of who they are.
Yeah. No.
That's my issue. I personally look. There's a lot of stuff I'd remove when it comes to things and stuff like that. But I always get I always understand the concept that, well, I always had the saying, whatever is good for the goose is always good for the gander. By that I mean, if something is done, the equal has to be done to the opposite end. It's kind of like saying, I don't want to. Okay, if I have to do. If other people got to do this, then I have to have the same. The same thing has to be done to the other end and stuff like that. And believe it or not, it's really easy to fall off that. When you start trying to limit like things and stuff like that. It's why. Sorry. Okay. I mean, look, I'm gonna go. I feel like I'm going over the same point here and stuff like that. I think I've made my point. Okay.
No, I get it too.
Yeah.
I don't think Buttons understands how important freedom of speech is.
I am okay. Believe me, I am, and I mean, look. I think I used to.
Okay, there's a
very,
very simple, straightforward. It's freedom of speech isn't there to protect, safe speech. It's there to protect the most, damning and dangerous and problematic and that's what
you can look at it. You can look at it this way. There's a reason why we don't say this person can enforce their ideology and abolish parts of free speech, and the reason is because we can say, I mean, in principle, I agree with Buttons. Like rape jokes are a terrible thing, and like, if I could personally, I would want to remove them. But just say I had that power, and then let's say someone else got in power who has a different ideology, and now they're able to enforce their ideology, and they might be someone who could be or they could be anything. They're like you. I mean, you gave the passive aggressive example earlier. They could start. They could start. Like some of the crazy things I've heard, like they ban the word racism. You're not allowed to call anyone a racist. You could have anyone who starts enforcing all sorts of and it's not there to protect it's there to protect how that could be abused in the future. That's why we have free speech.
It's okay. Yeah, it is okay. It's one of those things where it is okay. And look, it is shit. And I point this out to think it's shit because there's shit people out there, all right, who are willing to use the best intentions to, gain power for themselves and to mess things up. I mean, look, if all we needed was just laws, like just rules for thing, and everyone just followed them, it'd be great. Like we wouldn't need half the stuff. But the problem is that there's crappy people out there who use. Do stuff to get around stuff, and especially even when it comes to removing rape jokes, people are going to use that to either elevate their own power or worse yet, to use it to oppress someone else. All right, and considering that I've seen people use that to a scary degree. All right, to the point where it leads to that whole society thing that we were talking about. No one's willing to say or do anything for fear of, like a reprisal, because it's then presents you as a target and stuff like that.
Well,
it's the age-old bullying thing. It's like it's how bullies got around the school rules and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right?
If I could be another one on this, Buttons. If you were to start to limit things like this, it would start to affect things like art. You wouldn't be able to say certain things in music or movies or literature.
Good.
And so forth.
Rape has no place in society or art.
You're just not going to get it. You're just not going to understand
but here's the thing. The definition then starts to change. For example, have you ever seen art that has two people?
Buttons. I want to hear this. I think you're prepared to shear away at everyone's rights just so you can get rid of rape, no matter how much backlash or damage it's caused to the overall society. Yeah.
Problem is, it's sorry. And like I said, the definitions start becoming less and less, and you can't have, sooner or later, rape becomes, you can't have two people in the same artwork, or you can't have a humanoid person in the same artwork and stuff like that, because that could be it could be objectified or something else like that, and because that would be considered rape. And the problem is, it's called moving the goalpost, and
yeah.
Well,
a lot of Buttons, you should know this, considering a lot of the people who are fucking with you do that constantly. If things like that started to happen, it would start to swing in the opposite direction, where people would be like, "Oh, we could neuter this one little thing here. We could take this one more thing here." And I don't think you're just willing to understand this. The reason why I don't agree with some of the people who are giving you a hard time is the same concept here. I don't feel that it's too much,
Yeah.
back to it.
They are actually completely, their hands are tied in this situation because people like me in Westminster didn't do enough to stop what is essentially the rise of fascism. And
How the fuck is it the rise of fascism?
What
I
even
already
is
know in your
fascism?
head, Buttons, instantly. You don't know anything
No,
about Carl Benjamin's
I said
politics.
I don't even know what fascism is. I was just saying that.
I suspect if you were in the right group of people, you would be nodding your head about that.
Could you please elaborate what fascism is so I know?
All right. Well, instead of just guessing, let's specifically look it up. Oh, jeez.
Jesus fucking Christ! Talk about defensive.
Again, fascism is another of those words that I argue is itself in contest. So,
Well, at the moment, anyway.
Is a form of radical right-wing...
Okay, Wikipedia probably wasn't the best place to go to. You should probably go to actual dictionary, like the dictionary.
All right, Westminster.
Yeah.
Often capitalized a political philosophy, movement origins, such as that of fascista, that exalts a nation over an often race... above the individual... that stands for a centralized authoritarian government headed
autocratic
government.
No, for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, severe economic and social regimentation, and forcible suppression of opposition. Essentially, I am the Senate.
I don't see how that would be fascism. It's a guy being an asshole.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
but
there's assholes everywhere.
The reason why I came on guard here, Buttons, that you need to understand, is that basically it's the shorthand way of call, oh, he's a Nazi.
See, I don't do that shit. The only time I would call someone a Nazi is if they actually say, I hate Jews. That's what a Nazi is.
Like, here's the problem, and I'm going to say this right now. The reason why Jesse Phillips isn't going to say specifically, this is damaging and hurtful to me, is because that they would look weak. But at the same time, they'd also like to say, I'm really bothered by it. I'm like, look, you have to choose one and pick one or the other. If you would like to stop and drop out of the race and pursue legal action versus Carl Benjamin, that is your right. But I'm taking umbrage and I take issue with the fact that you're going to sit there and say, it doesn't really bother me, but I'm not going to bitch about this on national TV. And I also, and they're going to point out that they were in the position of power. The person most likely to be able to address this was them. And I'm like, cool, you shouldn't be reelected. If you had the biggest issue with all this and all this time, and the only person stopping you, and you didn't even give a reason why you didn't do it.
Well, didn't she not know who he was? Didn't she just think he's just a guy on the internet and didn't know who he was until he became a politician or started running for it?
If she was aware of who he was, Carl Benjamin's channel is rather large. Let's take a look here. 950,000.
Almost a million.
Yeah.
I don't know if she was aware of who he was.
It's always concerning when someone's like, okay, now that they're running against me, I'm going to change the laws to hinder them.
Which is, in a sense, it's almost like fascism in its own right, because you're essentially... You know, rather than let the idea stand and die on its own, which, let's face it, in Carl Benjamin's terms, it's the same thing it's the same thing I do with preachers and stuff like that. You let them sit on the street corner, you let them gasbag about their own doomsday-esque thing. They run out of spit, and then they go home, and most times they don't return because they figured, oh, no one's listening to me.
See, I can feel, maybe instead of fascism, wouldn't that be totalitarianism? Because like when Stalin.
Essentially, that's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is pretty much the same.
Okay, totalitarianism is the catch-all, as in it's like the furthest end. It's like extremism, basically. All right, as in totality, it is this. All right, like technically, in Australia, we're technically a democratic republic, blah, 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 blah. So it's not a totalitarian thingo. Totalitarian means it is all one way or the other, and it generally turns to totalitarian, dictatorship, which is fascism, or totalitarian republic, or totalitarian socialism, which is communism. That's what they mean by totalitarianism. So you're sort of right. It's just you're right anyway. It's just, definitions.
Right.
Again, semantics. I apologize.
Let's get back to it.
I blame myself a little bit for that, and I blame myself
Fascist
for putting a
Carl.
brave face on it. And I know that I shouldn't. And if I was talking to me, and I've talked to many, many people in
Yeah,
my
well,
situation,
your work before you became a politician. This is what you were talking to women about.
I've said, don't blame yourself, don't be ridiculous. But that,
All right, we've heard enough.
You see, and this is the conflicting part, because Jess Phillips, or that's her name, Jess Phillips, right?
Yes.
Jess Phillips is enough of a fucking asshole cunt that she's like making me want to stick up for Carl. Like, what is this fucking shit that she's talking about? The rules are like.
Oh, she wants to get the rules changed where
to fucking
somebody
limit a person who hasn't been convicted of a crime for running for office. What the fuck is that shit?
It's basically she wants to bar Sargon in particular from running for office, or I don't know how they would write the rule or law, whatever whatever you want to call it, provision. But now I think the only restriction is you haven't been to jail within a year, something like that.
Is that the case, Midnight? That basically, if you haven't been to jail for a year, you could run for office, or are they just talking out their ass?
I'm not entirely sure on that, to be honest.
After I think you get a felony in the United States, you're usually fucked for that sort of thing. So hey, that's a right you guys have that we don't. Anyways,
she wants to get it changed to where fascists like Carl Benjamin can't run for office.
Basically, we want to make sure that if we can smear you in any way that we can, that you can't run political opposition against us. That sounds really fucking authoritarian.
Sorry, pause it for a sec.
Go ahead.
I'm not sure if it's the same for England, but we do have a lot of similar laws. Not all of it, thankfully. When it comes to Australia and stuff like that, it depends on the severity of the crime. For example, if it's something like a white-collar crime, like, for example, some financial impropriety or something else like that, you can have that. You can be convicted and run for Parliament and stuff like that. Albeit, it's very hard for you to. It would be very hard for you to make any sort of headway. For example, however, if you are convicted of a more serious crime, such as murder or arson or whatever, okay, then it is okay. Technically, while there's no rules to say that you can't, most of the party wouldn't be able to get an independent. Most you'd be able to get is probably an independent seat.
May I ask what independent seat is?
Independent means that you're not affiliated with a major party. You see, because here in Australia, we run by the Westminster voting system, where essentially you don't run as you can't really run as a singular person. You run as a party, and you can technically name yourself as a party. In fact, we've actually got a guy here who's done that called Clive Palmer, and he has the Clive Palmer Party, so on, such and so forth. But the idea is that, but generally, if you're not affiliated with one of the major parties, which is Liberal, Labour, Greens, Oz Democrats, or whatever, okay, then you're effectively running as an independent because you're running as under your name, under you. Basically.
I thought that, like, as a politician or president or whatever, you had to run, like, as a side and you had to choose.
Well,
I think that's more of America, because, like I said, it's Westminster.
I know in the UK you get a lot of independent ones because a lot of the kind of joke troll candidates tend to be independent.
I had two questions for Midnight and Node. Are both your political parties over there? Let's do Node then Midnight. Are those independent? Or I mean, here
Democratic.
In the let's
generally how it works is that with Westminster.
Hold one second.
Sorry.
For example, I know recently it came up that the Democratic Party counts as a private organization, as in it's not actual government, which is really weird when you think about it. You'll go nuts. Is that the case for all the political parties in Australia as well as England?
In a sense, yeah. How it works is that we work on a system of preferences. So the idea is that there are two major political parties, but they can encompass the other political parties under their wing. How it works is that essentially people are vying for preferences. So you may give your preferences to one party or the other. Because our two major parties is the Australian Labor Party and the Australian Liberal Party. And the idea is, say, for example, let's say there's a party called the Brown Party, and they win a significant seats in their district, more than the Labor or Liberal person. All right. At that point, they can give their preferences, or usually what happens is that they state their preferences prior, unless they're running as an independent, then it becomes interesting at that point. Okay. But the idea is that they state that they'll give their preferences to one or the other party. The reason they do that is so that the party can then adopt some of their policies in exchange for those, for that preference. For example, we had an instance where the Shooters and Fishermen's Party got a significant amount of votes, and they said, they said, okay, if you want our preferences, you need to lax off the hunting laws. All right, and if they promise to do that, that's fine, we'll do that. Okay, they'll say, all right, we give our preferences to this, and those preference votes go to that particular party. And that's generally how it works here. That's generally how it works here in Australia.
Well, I'll put it to you like this way, Buttons. This isn't probably exact 1v1, but it's as close as an example as I could come up with. Bernie Sanders isn't a Democrat per se, but he ran under the Democratic ticket, I believe, something along those lines. In theory, independent parties, if they run on like a, what do you call it, a one-issue platform, one of the ways of basically overcoming that is just one of the major two parties addresses that issue, so you can pull away those votes. In Australia, from what it sounds like, according to Note, it's more of official than, just addressing it leaving it in the hands of the voters. Am I on target there?
More or less, yeah, because ideally every vote does count. Also, we have mandatory voting here. If you don't vote, you get fined. So
I like that. I love that. That's fucking amazing.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's like
how much?
It can vary and stuff like that. Generally, you're looking to $200 to $500 if you don't vote.
Is that primaries as well?
We don't have primaries. We have state. We have local, state, and federal.
And those are all mandatory.
Yes, every election is mandatory to vote in. The local ones are very easy though. They generally just send a letter to your house and then you just send it back. For state and federal, that requires election days. So that's where you have to go to a place and they have ballot boxes. They have your name on the register and stuff, and they say like that. Also, we don't have an electronic. We don't have an electronic one. It's actually mandatory all paper. Okay,
I think
apparently.
I don't. Well, what if someone's like physically ill and they can't vote that year or something?
Well, that's why I said it's mail in.
Well, you can. Well, yeah, if they say that you have things for that, if by any chance that you cannot make the date, you can actually vote early. You can actually call up and say, look, I'm going to go. I might be out of the country for that day, or I'm going to be having. There was actually a bit of an interesting thing that happened. I don't know if you guys know about something called. You guys know Big Brother or something?
Oh, you mean like 1984?
No. I mean I mean like the TV show, the game show Big Brother.
Yes, I do. Actually, I love that show.
Yeah, there was actually a point where Big Brother was actually going to go over the election, but you had these 8 housemates, and they were never going. Obviously, they were going to miss the quote ballot, but they did a special thing. It says, okay, as a special thing, you guys will vote early as per the early voting rules. Okay,
what if something happens out of someone's control that causes them to have the inability to vote? That is even after the early voting time, and then when it comes to voting,
for example, are you talking about say like car accident or something else like that?
Like a coma, car accident, something
Well,
that.
then, yeah, generally you would things like that are things that are out of your control, like a coma or something else like that. It is you are okay would exempt you from the vote because in a you're not in any condition to actually think or speak at that point.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I'd
was just
assume that there'd
concerned
be
about.
Generally a doctor. Look, generally, obviously, what happens is the voting people they'd go, "Why didn't you vote?" And usually, what happens is the next of kin or something, or would go, "All right, here's a doctor." And doctor says, "Yeah, here's his medical record. He can barely piss." Okay, and they okay, scratch that name off the list.
Okay.
now that we've got that addressed, see if there's anything even worth left here.
Like,
Sorry.
And that's the problem, because Sargon is handling this in a fucking retarded way when, like, his opposition is fucking vile.
Yeah, there's no, I don't know, the best outcome now. Imagine if somehow, I know this is far-fetched.
I think, as far as I'm concerned, Jess Phillips should have just treated him like he was a pleb. This is someone who's going to come and go. I've seen one of the people that Sargon ended up putting over recently, where he's like, "Oh, big fan," and then the guy treated like Sargon. He's like, "Oh, I can't wait for him to be like a footnote." Medicare fucking posted it on Twitter. It was hysterical.
Well,
Yeah, no, it was.
can a politic afford to have that mindset when they have competition?
Is Jess Phillips actually direct competition? Let's take a look. Jess Phillips.
Because
Is Labour MP, is that specifically the same role? Is that a UN position?
MP is I think it's look. I'm not entirely sure because MP is more of a British thing than it is for an Australian thing and stuff like that.
Midnight. Are you there?
Yeah.
MP, what's that specifically mean?
MP, as in Member of Parliament.
Oh, okay. So that's not UN. That's just England, right? That's specifically.
It's not military police.
All right. So yeah, it doesn't sound like it's direct.
Okay,
Obviously, you could say that the fact that they're opposing parties makes them direct competition, but they're not in line for. They're not competing seats, so to speak.
right.
Like, for example, when the Speaker of the House, I'm trying to remember her name, the one who keeps butting her heads with Donald Trump, isn't in direct competition for Donald Trump for election, at least not yet. Wish I could remember her name. Jesus,
Because I was going to say, like, if she was direct competition, I could understand her just wanting to be prepared for the competition itself, or, like, kind of have a foot ahead of him.
Oh, no, Go ahead.
It's generally just muckraising. It's essentially causing a fuss and getting your name involved. Because in politics, as far as I understand it, if you're active, regardless of whatever the hell you're doing, okay, obviously you want it to be good. You want good optics and stuff. If you're essentially causing being at the center of something, it shows that you're active. And active people in politics get opportunities to head up stuff, to lead projects, to be in charge of things, and generally also get elected because it also shows that you've been tested, you've come under fire, and you can actually do you can essentially lead. It's I think in this case it's muckraising. It's essentially posturing for further opportunity, not to and look, that's just what it seems like, but I can't. It says there's a lot that goes on behind closed doors, so I can't tell. All right.
But imagine that somehow Carl wins this election. Do you know that the media attention that you've seen now will be... Now, it's going to ramp up. What is today? The 7th? I think the elections, I want to say, are on the... I have to look. They're later in the month.
When is the elections? Midnight? Chimes, are you still there?
Midnight.
Yeah. I would have to look that up, to be honest.
That's beautiful. Don't worry, I'm sure if it were an American election, I'd have been stuck there too. But it was just fun to turn to the English guy. So when are the elections? Here's typing in the background.
And hey, like, I wasn't trying to say, like, I'm like, one for limiting free speech altogether earlier or anything. Like, I'm not that kind of person. Like, I just,
Okay, now, remember we kind of brought up, or I think I mentioned this to, like, Leo and them, when, oddly enough, the person I hate to cite now, Sargon, talked about practical application in free speech. It's why he was against things like Lelicon, where he's like, it wouldn't go over, you know? He felt that your average person wouldn't go for that. And he seems to have the right idea somewhere in that brain. But when it comes out of his mouth, there's a disconnect. I don't know if it's because if somebody puts a TV camera on him and his one brain cell just poofs off into the fucking ether. That might be the case. I don't know. I can't... Who knows? Maybe I'd be even dumber.
People do change when they know they're going to...
Hello?
hello?
No,
You went really quiet.
yeah, you cut out.
How's that?
No,
It's
leave the
super
call and come
quiet.
back.
Yeah, pop in and out or fuck with your audio a little bit.
That's odd.
Yeah. I'm wondering, since he's not a free speech absolutionist, why he decided to do this.
Hello?
Yeah, there he is. He's back. It's in your audio levels are good. Go ahead.
Excellent. I was just saying, like, you know, people do act different in front of a camera, so who knows? That might actually be the case as well. By the way, our elections are at the end of the month. Does anyone care?
I mean, sure. Yeah, spread the word. If you're in Australia, remember to vote. I mean, you guys kind of have to, or it's going to be expensive.
Dude, we already know, because like I said, it's, you know, fines are a thing, you know.
So, like, what age do you have to start voting in Australia?
It's 18. It's 18.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 18. Yeah, it's 18. Okay. It's 18 where it's mandatory to vote and stuff like that. A lot of people, you can get involved, like as a volunteer and stuff like that for political parties at 16, I believe. You know, because we actually have things like, we even got a thing called the Young Liberal Party and stuff like that, where, you know, you can get involved in things like, promotional drives and stuff like that, or community events and stuff like that sort of stuff. But officially, you can vote at 18. I might be putting my foot out there because it's been God knows how long since I started, and I just it becomes like going to the dentist and stuff like that. It's like, it's voting time. All right, kind of go, you know, because that's what a lot of people end up doing if they don't care. They do something called a donkey vote. And some people you should actually look that up, because it's hilarious, because some people do the most hilarious things with donkey votes.
Actually, when a foster mother of mine would volunteer for, like, voting every year at the school gyms, I would see people put, like, Donald Duck on ballots, or Pikachu, or like,
exactly.
It's so funny. I love it. I love.
Oh my god! You should look it up, because some of the freaking some people do artwork in those things, because ideally, most people just go in, do the thing, and go out. But some people spend time on this, and they start, like, they use the words and stuff like that to make really good, like, artwork and stuff, and put that in. Other people just they just add in a little extra thing, like, oh, here's one. It's like, this one, and my first preference is Jon Snow, King of the North.
I mean, I suppose there's no limit to how much time you can spend in those voting booths.
Well, ideally, they want you to come, but they give you so many spaces and stuff like that it's essentially, and no one's really caring.
I wanted to make a response here to Step. This will be borderline inappropriate. You could judge me on this one. I like the age of voting to be the same line of age of consent. Because if you're going to vote for political parties, you might as well be legally ready to get fucked.
Yeah, I don't think that.
Was that too
far? I think it's a good way for America to have a plateau.
That tied it all together. In case you noticed, that was a potentially inappropriate joke. I was waiting to see if that was too much or too little.
No, I mean, it wasn't like about rape or anything.
You could potentially say that that's how people view that level of.
No.
Okay, fine. I don't feel like pushing. Hello, Leo.
You're
how
just
we
going off the. You're just shh.
doing? Fine, whatever.
Oh, now Lio's here.
Leadership should be determined by combat. That's fantastic. Our very own Spartan is in the chat now.
Hell.
Oh,
By the way, I just posted.
I
just
do
posted
have,
a
I
donkey
do
bed
have
as
to
well.
post this. This is, I believe, the offer stands good to the best of my knowledge till 4 o'clock
Ooh.
today, Toon.
5 o'clock.
No, I think it was 4.
No, you said 5. I memorized it.
I remember it being 2 hours past where the time. You know what? Fine. Okay, fine. 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock Central Time, Toon, that you could come forward and provide evidence that you are.
Without a voice changer.
Yes, without a voice changer, you could come in. You could talk. I would feel comfortable getting probably about 3 or 4 people. Each would talk to you in turn.
I would love to be a part of that, if that's all right.
I'm pretty sure he's not showing up, but
Yeah.
yeah.
If he did, that would be great.
If he did, I would have words for him.
No,
because of what
this
he
isn't
told
like
last time.
Buttons. That's exactly why you're not coming along. This isn't meant to be handled. Yeah, this isn't going to be. We're going to get him. This is.
All right.
I'm giving him the opportunity.
Get him.
Yeah, his message.
I can ask him questions based upon someone who's who actually is in therapy, and I can ask him.
He's not going to do this my way this time.
No. The whole point was is that if he had the evidence to prove that he was seeing someone who is a licensed therapist, I just wanted to prove because those screenshots where you guys showed me, how did he put it? He's like, I've changed as a human being. I'm fully prepared to stop into the heat death of the universe, one, provided that there's no further threats to any children, and he could provide that he's seeing a therapist. If he's changed, he'll be able to do that. And again, you have approximately, 4 to 5 hours to get that done?
No, let's see, it's 12:56 for you, so it's almost 1, so yeah, about 4 hours.
Yeah, about 4 hours. I think that's fair. You could come on, you could give that information. I would probably, if Leo was around, after I asked all my questions, I would pass it off to him. After Leo got done, yeah, I'd probably want to save Leo for last because I think that he wouldn't be around.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would probably try and get creepy, and then maybe a 4th. We'd have to see. But I'm pretty sure he won't show up. But in that contingency, yeah.
Maybe what you could do is, if someone's willing, maybe you could get one of the old people from the old crew to talk to him.
Oh, you know what? I'd even open it up to Sheldon. Fuck it. He'd do well enough. I'd sit there quietly, give him the fucking opportunity. He's usually a boss in these situations. Though the whole idea would be just to sit there and fact check him to see if he's changed it at all. I'm pretty sure he hasn't.
I would make a separate room on Skype.
No, absolutely.
There.
Yeah. But I would be willing to, again, leave him alone to the heat death of the universe if he was willing to do that. And I would feel very comfortable doing that because I'm sure that there'd be people who'd still be willing to watch him.
Oh yeah, I do think that this isn't your way of saying you're getting back to. This is just our way of saying we'll leave you alone.
Well, he'd have to do his own razzle dazzle after that. Yeah.
He would have to stay completely away from minors.
That would be pretty. Yeah.
I know for a fact he's not coming back anytime soon.
He is poking around the Pokemon fandom. That wasn't me trying to be cheeky there. It just.
And I know. I mean, the chat room he was in did have a minor, so.
Yeah, we're not shocked. It was the Pokemon fandom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Noticing he's chosen a lot of children fandoms. Wonder why.
Well, hold up there. He always did have some, immature. Schlocky tastes, and he'd always been a fan of things like Birdemic, and not to shit on the Pokemon fandom. I did. He tended to like things that weren't, of high culture, if you will.
Yeah, I mean,
I still find it suspicious.
How much like are we talking here? Because I kind of, I still got my DS with Pokemon stuff. I kind of
there's tons of people. Tons of people.
Are we talking like, or are we just talking like, just like?
See, the thing that I'm interested about is that Toon is joining fandoms that were never really that big a part of his personality or identity or things like they were kind of minor interests of his.
He had an interest in it. I'm sure that he's.
The furry stuff he always kind of did.
That just occurred to me. I wonder if he's poking around in like some kind of pro wrestling boards. I don't. Then
Yeah.
again, those are
No,
pretty
yeah, he is.
trollish. That
We were
probably wouldn't be
told-
the yeah.
We were told that he would spend almost every, I believe it was Thursday or Monday. It was one day of the week, and he would always go off and watch wrestling. At the time, he would he loved wrestling. We were told, and he would drop everything to go watch it.
Well, it's got a 3-hour block. He actually, when we were starting to talk, he offered me to come on a pod, and I almost said yes. I was like, oh, I've been a bit behind, and he's like, oh, how long have you been out of the loop? And I was like, oh, Chris Benoit was champion. He was like, that was 10 years ago, and I was like, oh, I respect the fact that you were able to pinpoint it that fast. Holy shit!
Ooh, you better sit down, man. Chris
Yeah.
Benoit is a hell of a story.
No, I'm aware what happened with can't even say poor Chris. He murdered his family. Yeah, that's some shit.
If he tries to bullshit or can't prove it, can I come along and tear him apart after? If
I
you guys find
assumed
out he's
after he
lying.
couldn't prove it, he would just leave. I mean, why would you stick in there? I mean, if he legitimately had, again, the whole point here is if he actually has, and I'm giving him the bare minimal, the baseline, to show a licensed practitioner that he could come forward. You know, because I'm pretty sure he doesn't, and I'm prepared to make that gamble. I'm also prepared to make that gamble because I'm pretty sure he'd relapse, someone would tell me, and I would get back on the case. But if he has that base minimal, if he could keep his nose clean, then I guess we're done. And he has approximately 4 to 5 hours to accept that offer.
Watch him try and go to find a therapist in that time, or look up fake therapists in the area.
We basically know he don't, and he won't, and he doesn't, and he won't do all of that.
Weren't we told?
But this way he can't turn around and say, "Well, no one's giving me a chance."
Yeah, weren't we told his quote unquote therapist was someone in his family that just gave him advice all the time?
I'll put it to you like this: if Toon were watching or had this pointed out to him in the brief period of time, the person who I would trust with that information, which I don't think Toon would in this case, oddly enough, I'd be like, fine, give your therapist to Leo Convoy. He won't use it to get... he wouldn't for me, I think. I would trust Leo Convoy.
No, Toon's a different story.
I know, let me think. What about Shia Kami?
His wife...
is a straight shooter. Shia Kami,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we could find somebody. We would find somebody... Josh. Yeah, I think we
Go to Chambers of My Heart.
Fuck you. Fuck you, ironically. Hell no. Chambers, I'm not going to say I love you, but goddamn woman. My soul, my everything hurts just from that whole fucking video. Why? My advice to anyone, if you ever have a really drastic and dangerous idea, sit down with your friends first and really mull that over, and have them poke at it and be like, maybe that wasn't right for you.
Yeah. This is like that stream where Toon came on the stream and I was like, I can't tell if Buttons is laughing or dying.
A little bit of both. Yeah. That was one of those things that I did find it funny, where I was like, who is this asshole? And then Buttons is yelling at me. It's Toon. I'm like, oh. I felt so dumb for not picking up on it. Believe it or not, yeah, I don't pay attention to his mannerisms enough to figure out it's him, but I'll definitely be listening to My Way. I wonder if that's a tick he can even stop anymore.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't the thing it wasn't the My Way that got at me. It was the laugh. The cartoon's laugh.
Jeez.
Well, I mean, that's one thing you can't disguise with a voice changer.
Oh, exactly. That's I knew it was him the whole time. I was like, that's gotta be him. That absolutely.
You could mimic other people's laughs. Like, for example, I could probably do the Java laugh from friggin' Star Wars.
Well, the one thing you can't.
I can do Muttley from Hanna-Barbera.
I love that.
And that's one thing, but it's like when he laughed, there was like a break in the voice changer, sort of.
It could always muted
and
himself.
kind of listening to it again. I mean, I'll take your word for it. I mean, I wasn't 100% sure it was Toon Critic, but I just want to believe it is so badly.
All right, I want you to close your eyes and imagine. Remember how cartoons spoke with that inflection? That come here, I know what you're talking about. Hold
on. I could grab the clip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here we go. actually. My channel. It sounded close enough for me.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
see. Where is it?
It was the 5-minute clip.
there we
Leveling Looney. There it is.
Where are you?
It's gonna be a bit further down because it's gonna have like the image of the call with Kichi.
Yes. It was
go
that
back,
was
go back.
that was a long
yeah.
stream. That was a very
Yeah, no, that's why I grabbed the clip.
Oh yeah, this is the clip from it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does that say to you, moron?
I love hearing
Ones
that.
that were based on information from Isaac Collar, who was informed by
play a
Toon
little
Critic Y2K. I know, long chain of events.
If I could get this to disappear. Fuck off.
See,
So you
I
dick
kinda
tucked, I
just wanted
understand.
to play the game my way.
And then what?
And then we'll report it.
And then we'll
Whoa,
see.
whoa, no. I'm not doing this unless I do this my way. My way.
My way.
Oh, that's Toon with a voice changer. That's beautiful.
What?
What?
His reaction sold it to me. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I think that's just...
And then we started after. I just thought it was sweet. I thought it was cute. I'm like, no, that was so fucking stupid. He's like, if you're gonna lie about it, Jesus, at least like play it off. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
It is.
But Tim never was the best actor, was he?
Well,
No.
consider it this way, Step. When you say Toon's not going to accept this, you have to prepare for the worst case scenario. You have to kind of prepare for all scenarios. The last thing you want to do is be like have him show up prepared, have the information, and then they'll like be like, "Oh, I guess that's it." We'd look like a bunch of assholes. Holy shit. Yeah, I'd like to think I'd be on the ball. Hopefully, he doesn't show up with like a second to go and be like, "All right, we're doing it now." Oh, that'd be the ultimate. Jesus. I don't think he'd be on the ball that well. That'd be the way to do it, though.
When you're dealing with someone like that, it's very hard to come across as the assholes, I think. You can get away with a lot.
Well, we were very suspicious of you because you diddled a kid and wanted to,
Yeah.
meet up with her offline.
Hey, look, if he didn't want more people in the call, he shouldn't have said he was bored. I don't like making my co-hosts bored. I grabbed the guy I thought was most interesting to put into the call, which is Leo.
Oh, I forgot that part as well. When he when he flew out of the call when Lion joined, that was the best thing.
Yeah, if you want one-on-one, I could leave and Leo could have fucking took over. Oh,
I still love how he picked up his phone when I called. I was fucking dying.
You were like, "Hello, this is Buttons." Great.
Jesus.
We know you're watching the stream, and then he just.
Oh God, good times.
I'm just sitting here like, yes, I'm very scary, aren't I, Toon?
I wanted to play this channel just because I'm a big fan of Godwinson, and his reserve or his interpretation of Sargon was the best. Where he's like, till now, the only people who knew about how dumb Carl was us, but now everyone you meet along the street now is going to know you, Carl, and they're going to want to punch you in the face forever and ever for the rest of your life. We've won.
Is a huge effigy of Carl Benjamin thrown into the fire like a Guy Fawkes on bonfire night. And we're all just sat around, warm, content, ready to hear a story. A story about the man who we've decided to burn an effigy of on the fire before us. So get very comfortable. Grab a drink, some snacks, and fear not, because there won't be any super chats or special e-celebrity guests interrupting our snugness. Join me as I tell you the story of Mr. Sargon, the politician man.
I would have paid for this. This is so good. God, I love fucking Godwinson stuff.
If I would love a version of this where we're talking about Toon. So back in the day,
well, he's
was
generally he's stuck to the skeptic community. He's generally taken the dog piss out of people like Mundane Matt and stuff. And I'd rather have someone cover topics that they're really comfortable with, so you can see that their passion show through, that they're enjoying what they're doing and stuff. And I'm still trying to fucking
I know, but mundane's such low-hanging, overweight fruit.
But you should have heard what Guru Larry said. I thought was hysterical. He went to take the moral high road, but he couldn't help himself when he came on. We were starting to badmouth him, and he's like, "Oh, I don't really want to talk about that." And Creepy winds up making a remark, "Oh, I've actually gotten a chance to talk to him." And then freaking Larry goes, "Oh, I'm sorry." Jesus. God, I don't think I'd even talk to Mundane Matt. I don't see what I would gain out of it. I don't think that there's any level of common sense or back and forth that I feel would be worth my breath that the man would take up on.
Sorry, but whenever he's in anything so like semi-serious, or at least what he would count as something like that, he is fucking boring. He is like, his voice just sends me to sleep. I swear to God, you know. All right. I think the most interesting thing that happened when he was scrambling to fucking defend himself.
Well, his name is Mundane Matt. I mean, mundane being.
It's supposed to be ironic. He thinks it's ironic.
Yeah, but it's that whole thing of. It's that whole thing of like, you know, I heard I'm pretending to be a retard all the time, but if that's your entire shtick, people just gonna assume that you're a retard.
Yeah, see, I heard like you guys talk about and mention Mundane Matt, and I don't really know who he is.
I know a little bit about him. I don't know where you'd begin to describe it, really.
He comments on news articles, like he reads headlines and then he gives his opinion on it.
I've seen channels like, well, that's not even true though. He gives he gives the most milquetoast bland version that will not cause demonetization, that will not cause people to downvote or unsubscribe. It is as Godwinson said, he's the very definition of a rent-a-gog. Everything he says is at best way possible to maximize each penny off of each video. Now, I'm going to get myself in trouble here because I feel like there's a wonderful segue for someone I typically like. Did one of those videos. I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm going to apologize that there's a good chance that this is just me being a cunt. Who here knows Manga Common?
Yeah.
So, and I like Manga Common. He's a nice person. He has a charming personality. He's a strong man who could beat the shit out of me.
What, seriously?
Oh, he's huge. He's strong. He doesn't look like a badass, but he almost ripped Irish John's arm out of his socket.
I wouldn't know. All I see is his stolen artwork or something else like that. I know he didn't steal it. It's just a basic idea from that music video or something else like that, whatever it was called. But yeah, I wouldn't have pegged him for being a ripped guy.
No, he's strong. He's like powerlifter strong, not like bodybuilder. You know, he's not cut.
Oh, well, that breaks my fantasy there.
Well, he's deceptively. He'd be one of those people that if you started assing off to him in a bar, you might be picking up your jaw in a minute. But the point is,
okay, so it's kind of like you kind of rhyme in the back. It's just like, you come in a car, you go, I'm gonna kick. Jesus Christ, you're a big bastard.
Yeah. But back to the whole thing. When he did his Sonic video, I felt in what was easily the safest target to pick apart, and I'm not going to say that he had to feel one way or another, but it felt like he just wasn't willing to like really be impassioned at all. And I'm like, I didn't know what the point of his video was other than, I felt like he said nothing. And
was it like a history of Sonic or just the new Sonic movie?
If he would have gone into and offered something new along the history, at least something a bit more obscure, but I felt like everything felt that it was designed to be as unoffensive and as unobtuse as possible. It felt very Mundane Matt when I watched his Sonic video. And again, I'm not saying that he had to be like Medicare about it, laughing and guffawing, or be Jim Sterling and be, I'm right about this, and this, but it felt like there was no personality to it. And in the past, I generally felt the need to defend Manga Common when people like Ryan Reno Mills used to be like, I'm only giving him a hard time because I want better from him, because I expect better. I used to defend him along with Dylan Thomas, where I was like, I don't know what you mean by better or more. This is going to come off as unbelievably backhanded, where I was like, I think the comment we're getting is the best version we got. But when he said absolutely nothing, I was positive. I know you have feelings and thoughts. And, hey, I felt like you said nothing, and you just put this out there, and we all do that video. Somewhere along the line, I know he's a very busy, hardworking man, that's why I don't want to bust his balls, but it infuriated the crap out of me. I'm like, this said nothing.
I think maybe the reason he said nothing is because he has negative emotions about it that would get him flack.
There's plenty of good critique, though, about the Sonic fandom and the Sonic license.
I mean...
From the Sonic
what
fandom.
You're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, when you say that, and look, I guess if you're just worried about your audience and stuff like that, it's fine. But it is one of those things where you got to kind of be true to yourself in that sort of regards. And if people take umbrage for it, sometimes it's actually good because it does spark, nuance and discussion. It might even follow up in another video. It's like, well, my first video, that video didn't apparently exist. So okay, so let's read something. I mean, people do that. Okay, people have follow-up videos for that sort of stuff. Make it a thing. But I think people would appreciate people more if they're honest about it. Okay, and then address okay, well, this is how I feel. This is how you guys feel. Interesting.
No,
all right.
I also want to state this for the record. That the video is called "Why the Sonic Movie is Brilliant." This isn't me being a Sonic fan. I am not. I've never owned any kind of Sega system. I'm not a diehard Sonic fan. I'm kind of indifferent.
I once was.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's perfectly
Oh yeah,
cool.
I was a Sonic fan as a kid.
No, and that's
Oh,
cool
God.
too. Yeah, I felt like he could have. I felt like he could have probably, and it's not
Well,
to say.
let's watch a little bit. Like,
Okay,
let's watch
yeah,
a little bit and
it's
see
not.
what you're talking
yeah,
about.
it's not to say that. Sure. Skip ahead.
It's a question that's warped. A bad video game movie is bad for the same reason that are other bad movies. So the Sonic the Hedgehog movie trailer dropped, and there's been a bit of a buzz about talking about the blue blur. And I figure, hey, let's talk about it for this video for a small little rant, shall we? Now, I'm sure there are plenty of people who are already assuming that I stand on this, and I think the movie is going to be garbage, especially with the design of Sonic out there.
The clowning has begun.
I'm under the belief that just because something looks bad, that doesn't mean it's going to be a mark of quality of the product.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Take the recent Star Wars, for example.
But I mean, these are all sound and nice things, but it's Sonic, man. You didn't have to play this soft and gentle, and you didn't have to be this safe. There was nobody that was going to pounce on you, and if you wanted to go one way or the other, I'm a bit annoyed that he went
I think he played safe. I think he played safe because it's just a trailer and there's not much to go off of because of that.
Well, it wouldn't have been a huge limb. You know what? That's where your follow-up video comes in. Well, I was wrong. They sure proved me wrong. And
Well, yeah, and he could do a follow video. It's only been a day. I mean...
Yeah, no, I get it. And you know what? I could be completely wrong.
Yeah.
4,000 views. It's only been a day. Yeah, this could balloon up nicely. I don't know. Maybe I just wanted more passion. That's my personal taste. I could be completely wrong, Common. If you ever see me again, don't kick my ass.
Yeah. Truth is, we just want Lyle Rath to go off his nut again at some point, or like Dishonored Wolf or whatever he's calling himself nowadays. All right. Point is, we just want someone to just look at this and just lose their shit, because that's hilarious. Because it's like, yeah, it's bad, but we want to see, we want to take that little internalized feeling that we have that we know better not to do, because we know, because we've got logic and we've got reason and stuff like that, and just
we don't
put it
want
up
to
on
look like
set.
and we don't want to look like a Spurg.
Well, no,
exactly.
It's not even that.
We
there was another channel which I think this is a bit different. The guy's name's Yang Ye, and he kind of does like,
oh yeah.
Well, I don't hate the guy, but I can understand why he's not everyone's cup. He's a bit monotone, very serious, and I'm just sitting there like, I don't know why of all topics this is one that people had to handle so straight-faced. Okay, I do. You wanted the views. You wanted the views, and it's juicy right now. It's viral, the bitch about Sonic at this moment, and I don't know.
You've done that too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I didn't put this at the front. This is buried. We're an hour into the stream now. See, well, it says hour 48. Maybe probably a little bit earlier. Manga Kamen is a large lad. That's Leo Convoy.
Did you see a small video on Bacon?
He might grapple you at BronyCon, Leo. He's a big old boy.
Wait a minute. Wait. I want to see what this is. Did you see a small video on Wait, go back. Someone had a question for me.
Okay, sure.
Did you see a small video on Baconator telling someone to die angry about it because a person explained why they don't like moth pool on a video? Ooh.
Where? Where? Oh, where?
Yeah. Yes, please. Sharing is caring, Fluffy.
Yeah. I'm a bit curious. You've piqued our interest. Black as night, sneeze of a kitten.
Shut up.
Let's read that again. Buttons, G soul as black as night, the sneeze of a kitten. Be afraid. I'm trying to think of, when you said sneeze of a kitten, I'm trying to think of a Darkwing Duck taunt. I am this kitten sneeze in the night, or I don't know. I ain't got time to put this.
Okay, I am the kitten sneeze that haunts your recommendations.
It's a bad day when Node starts kicking your ass. Anyways,
you're right. I am terrible.
Indeed. God, how's everything doing in the furry fandom right now, Node? At least in your portion.
Well, at the moment I have had to. I've been sick for a little bit as well too, so I've missed a whole bunch, and I'm currently prepping for some conventions that are coming up because I got 2 that are back to back. One furry, which is Furdu, so I'll be going to that. Yay! I've also gotten a bit behind on doing my comic as well too, so that's another thing. And then I've got Oz Comic Con here in Victoria, so yeah, I got to do that one as well too.
Oh, you guys have your own Comic-Con. That's cool.
Yes, we do. We have we have a Comic-Con affiliate here as well too. So yay! Okay, that's pretty cool.
Oh, I was gonna say I wanted to mention this. I found a channel that did this brilliant thing. I showed it to Buttons the other day, where the guy did like retro tech.
Oh God!
Yeah, the guy had about as many subs as Digi, but he was making $6,000, and I'll tell you why I thought it was brilliant. When you're covering things like retro tech, I got to assume the ground floor to buy in for that stuff is probably like $100 to $200, and if he's making $6,000 a month, that's just got to be just killing it. One, there's got to be less people really competing with him. He was covering something like CDs.
The Flex Disc. It was like this disposable DVD. We actually have them at my convenience store, so I know what they're talking about.
Are they old dead ones, or are they brand new ones?
No, they're old dead ones. They might not work. I might actually go get one today. We could try it out together, see if it works.
I'm not that excited for that.
I don't know.
No, it's fine.
Interesting.
Flex Disc.
Yeah, I think I saw that guy. I think. I mean, I haven't seen it, but I think it's been recommended to me a couple of times, which actually just goes to show that the actual YouTube recommendations are actually working again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say something.
Oh, there it is. The channel is called Technical...
Flex Play. There it is.
Technical Connections. And I'm just going to pause it.
Yeah. Also, Fluffy, yeah, you can send it to my DA notes or FNGRs.
If anybody's really looking for something to break in on, covering like old crap like laser discs and shit seems cost effective, and $6,000 a month. Holy shit.
Well, because people love nostalgia.
Oh yeah, I didn't even know for technology.
And it just has to be like niche enough.
Like it said like hands-free toast or some shit like that. And I've seen him, like he's good enough. It doesn't seem like it's that rapid fire. Maybe like once every 2 weeks or some shit like that.
Yeah. Actually, that also reminds me of another guy thing. Have you guys seen Grand Illusions?
I actually have.
Oh, I'll take it.
Oh, that guy. He's okay. He's this sweet old guy, or at least I think so. And what he does, he just goes around and he picks up like old toys and stuff like that, and he goes like, "Oh, look at this! This is actually something I used to do when I was younger." Really so like this, and it's this, and it's like, "Oh, look at that!"
He kind of looks like he's anyway, a story in a skosh.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, but he has a really lot of resources, and like I said, he's like. And this is what he does. He just has a table. He's got a black screen, and he goes to toy fairs and stuff like that. He just finds like little cool knick-knacky type things and stuff like that. And he goes like, "Oh, that's just marvelous." Yeah, well, there we go. Okay.
I'm gonna look at this weird contraption here.
Oh yeah, he has a really soothing voice too.
Okay.
Wait to skip.
For fuck's sake, get ad block.
Ah. Well, he gets his whole penny off of me. 1, 2,
Alright.
3.
Also, Fluffy, just send the link to Anthony or I on DeviantArt in notes like you asked. Yeah, Anthony's DeviantArt is for no GR.
It's also in the banner. Oh, I like the
Yeah.
intro. What the hell is that?
I had one of those actually. They're like it's kind of like a Slinky, but instead of going like up and down and like swirly, it's like you pull it back and forth. And...
my collection and
You know what it kind of reminds me of? It looks like one of those classic screensavers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Many countries make this sort of stuff. Look at this one here, for instance. It's fascinating.
It's the fidget spinner of its day.
It starts off as a 6-pointed star. There's one at the top, one at the bottom, and there's 4 going around the equator. 6-pointed star. You push these top and bottoms together, it becomes very complicated, but if you stop at the midpoint, which is there, and count up, you'll see there's 14 points there. Keep pushing, and it suddenly takes up another shape, which is an 8-pointed star. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Prehistoric transformer.
Back in my day, we didn't have these fancy cars. We had stars. Dang it.
All right, let me go check my DeviantArt.
All right.
Because there's a link apparently to a video about Baconator.
All right.
Baconator.
Yeah.
Oh, that's who you are on DeviantArt. I love your art you did of us.
Oh, did you get a video link?
Yeah, I got the video link. Let me put it in the
Right.
chat.
I definitely would like to hear our dear, sweet, beloved Draikinator's helpful, kindful, whatever.
Oh, what? Oh, hang on. I think I forgot to go to the actual video.
Yeah,
Hang on.
you sent me a DA link. How are you today, Caleb? We haven't seen you in a hot minute, or at least a day. Buh.
Hello, our drama. Actually, Kayla was telling me apparently people are accusing the person of House and Hotel being a pedophile and shit, so that's something.
Who?
People are accusing Vizzy Papa being a pedophile and shit.
I've
apparently.
heard that, but nothing behind it. Like,
I got it. Okay. So people mistake, I can actually get the screenshot. I'm in a server with some Hasbin Hotel people, and I talked to a friend of Vivzy, and they told me...
I've got the video up here. Let's take a read here. This is why I don't like Draikinator from Jade Animates. You know what? I will include this.
The recorder is funny.
Paste.
Alright.
I will read this off for y'all in a minute. The sadistic kitten.
That's the Andrew guy!
Oh, okay. I was about to say... This is beyond giving me a headache and cringe from how these characters are portrayed. Although the Aaron fuck up all the time by making siblings be mates, cough, Willow Pet and Patch Pelt, cough. This is more of the Warrior Cats nonsense. I am the type...
I'll read it.
I got it. I am the type to see the understand true facts, even from the word of the Aaron themselves, so this was a bit hard to watch. They aren't canon due to how they truly are portrayed within the books and website, although how you see these cats are up to you. How you ship them and headcanons are up to you. I see Jake and Tallstar as close friends with possible gay relationships. Alright? Die mad about it, bitch. Okay. Was Draikinator have like low fructose? Was there sugar low that day? I don't know. Draikinator, I beg your pardon. Draikinator, I beg your fucking pardon. This is beyond uncalled for. I only stated my simple opinion. Alright. Draikinator, okay, here. Then beg. Well, Draikinator, I didn't realize you were from that part of the fandom. Anyways, Draikinator, it's a phrase. You are a incredible child and rude. What a pity. Is that it? Okay. Well, it does seem like a dick. Let's see if he shows up in the comments here.
They blocked me on Twitter because I complained about them getting offended on some...
Thanks for the input. I linked your video in my stream. Jesus. Don't they usually have like dates on these, or did this just come out? Pretty sure they called Memento homophobic for making a moth pool community problem vid.
So Mothpool is a lesbian ship that is in the fandom.
Okay. But what's the problem with it?
Apparently people don't think it's canon. It isn't exactly canon, and people state that it's not canon, so they get very triggered by that.
Oh, okay. Avoid them and do not state your opinion to them. They will bash you. That's why you should. They actually told me that I'm not their so-called rationale just because I was trying to defend a character they hate so much. I happened in one of the... So this is basically that obnoxious sped that, you know, back in the day, if you went to like an anime shrine or something like that for your favorite character, they'd be like, "No, your character sucks."
And on top of that, also makes like fucking pedophile accusations left and right without any evidence.
Yeah, we've covered that before.
So like, they're just kind of a stupid individual.
Oh, really nice. They're a little childish and rude. I'm just checking sure that our good Draikinator in here. Oh, I was here already.
No, you just posted a minute ago.
Oh, okay. Usually it puts your comment at the top. Derp.
I'm noticing that ever since my Draikinator video, all my videos just get lots of dislikes from people, and I'm just sitting here like, I had a fucking speed paint get lots of dislikes.
Well, it sort of reminds me of, what was it? One of the first times I watched Keemstar, or someone like played a clip of him. This made me laugh my ass off. Where he's like rage gaming. I don't know if he was doing a bit or something like that. All right, now go to this video and I'll put a bunch of downvotes, and he gets a guy a bunch of 100 downvotes. Now go on to all the next ones. And I just sat there and said, God, this is so juvenile and retarded. I think he was doing a bit. I'd hope, but it was pretty funny to me. Jeez,
I wouldn't be shocked if Draikinator did that.
Well, I'm sure he doesn't have as many people to spam downvote people.
I mean, 50,000 subscribers.
You have to remember how many of those are dead subscribers and how many of
also has like an entire Discord server with like over 200-300 people.
That's true, but again, how many people in that Discord server are active? Like, everyone who has a Discord likely has, you know, just we've been here. By the way, how many views does your shit got? Let me look. Oh, 1.9. You're getting there.
Yeah, it's almost at 2,000, buddy.
Let's take a quick peek.
Hello, everyone.
Bunk 1.943. Wow, the downvotes have really climbed. Well, it's about 50.
Yeah.
It's about where it was. Wonk. Well, I did my best. Alright, I think we've been here for about 2 hours. It's a good place to call it quits, guys. I had fun.